welcome. I know y'all have a lot of screen time this week, so just wanted to begin by saying thank you for attending. This is a session that we were looking forward to because I think it shows that all of y'all have some control, have some choice in the classes that you get to choose. It wasn't necessarily what you had done over the summer. So we think this is, a really beneficial experience for you all. So thank you for the time. Thank you for joining. My name is Ian Aitken, 8 like the number. The pronouns I use are he, him, his. For 6 years, I worked in UNCG's Housing and Residence Life office, and now have transitioned over into the academic side of the house. So getting to talk with y'all about a lot of your coursework. It's some exciting stuff. With me today is my colleague Nancy Bucknell. She'll be operating the chat session. So again, feel free to load any questions into the chat if you've got something pressing. We're definitely going to have time at the end for some Q&A. So know that we will get to as many of your questions as possible. With that, let's get going. Click, 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 click. So we are a fairly large team in the CASA office. Chances are you see maybe one of your professors or your assigned advisor in this group. We do our best to work directly with y'all. So again, if you have any questions or any concerns that come up through the semester, please do reach out to whomever you're assigned to. The contact information isn't listed here, but on our CASA website, you'll be able to find the email address and phone number for most everybody that's listed. I did want to ask y'all a quick question. When do you like to take your classes? If you could just submit your response. Is it in the morning, mid-morning, the afternoon, sort of that noon to 4 p.m. time, the evening, 4 p.m. to 7, or maybe you're a night person and you like that 7 to 10 p.m. period. If you're anything like my advisees, a lot of them suggested, yep, mid-morning seems to be the biggest winner. I think that's just one way to show you that it's important when you're thinking through your classes to understand when are you at your best. We want to set you up for success. And so if you're not a morning person, it may not be the best course of action to take that 8 a.m. class. Or maybe you've got a part-time job in the afternoons, evenings, and so you need to take an earlier class. Following sort of that high school block scheduling, maybe you prefer to have that 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., 11 a.m. to 12, back-to-back classes. And that may work for you. Or you may be the kind of person that wants to take 1 hour here, wait a little while, have a break, and then take another class a few hours later. For us, it's really important that you just sort of understand what's best for you. So yeah, you can see right here that big winner was the mid-morning period. So again, just keep that in mind when you're processing through searching for classes. If nothing else, please remember dates and timelines. So from today through next week, it's really important that you try and schedule an appointment with your advisor to make sure that you do get on their calendar. We've got a number of advisees, and so when you give a half hour to each student, the time adds up. We'll actually meet with y'all between October 14th and November 17th. So again, you're scheduling a meeting in that window. And then the registration window will open. And what that means is, again, it was likely covered in the last session, but for most of you, you've got 1 to 29 credit hours. And so that'll put you with a registration time at midnight on November 10th. Now remember, that's the morning of the 10th. So 11:59 on the 9th, midnight, that's when your window will open and you'll be able to formally register for your classes. If you've got 30 to 44 credit hours, then your registration would be midnight, November 5th. Again, that morning of November 5th. So just keep that in mind as you're planning out your classes, and when you want to meet with your advisor, how much time do you want between when you meet with your advisor and when you actually do register for those classes. But how do you know what classes to take? Here's a quick little reminder. So how do you look for your classes for spring semester? Well, the first thing is go to the Genie login page, but don't log into the secure area. Instead, go directly to class schedule. Now, at the time of crafting this video, we don't yet have the spring classes published, but you're going to drop down and you're going to select the semester that you're looking at. For example, right now, we'll look at fall 2020. Continue. It's going to ask you a couple of options, but let's, for example, say you're looking for your English classes. Select English, search, and it's going to generate the entire list of English classes that are offered for the semester you've chosen. You can look through, you can see the dates, the times, you can see which attributes, which codes these classes correspond to. Is it writing intensive? Is it speaking intensive? Reasoning and discourse. What we want you to do is do homework and research on the classes that you're interested in taking. And another key piece here I want to point out is the CRN number, so the course registration number. It's really important that you write that number down and understand that, yes, this number corresponds to English 101 section 5A, because one digit off and you may register for the B section. So again, pay attention to what those numbers are. And then everything else you need to know about the class is listed here. Chances are, a little code script, if you see TBA, that means more than likely it's going to be a virtual class, an online class. And again, classes won't be published in the search menu until this Friday. But definitely take a look at what classes you're going to be taking. How do you prepare for the meeting? I think one thing is just, again, to understand that you have control in the classes that you select. So certainly there are different requirements that you need to graduate, but within that, there's a broad spectrum of classes that you can take that fulfill those requirements. So recognize you do get to choose which courses you want to take. What to bring? Really, the biggest piece there is we want to make sure that in doing your homework and preparing, you come with maybe 12 to 15 courses that you want to take in the spring. And that's not necessarily five classes, separate classes, and then 10 of one class with different sections. You want to make sure that you have a good variety of courses. It's fine to have multiple sections of the same class. We just don't want to fill that whole list with the same class, because as you saw on the previous slide, seniors, juniors, and a lot of sophomores will be selecting classes in advance of when you'll select, and so you may not be able to get your ideal schedule, your ideal list of classes. So we want to make sure that in our meeting we've got some discussion points of, okay, if you don't necessarily get to sign up for this one, what about this other class? I want to make sure that you're asking questions. You want to know, what does this class represent in terms of the attributes, the requirements? You want to talk with your advisor. Again, you want to have a conversation with them. We want to know, are you thinking about studying abroad? How does that change the way that we plan your course schedule? We want to make sure, again, that you have a voice, a say in the coursework that you select for spring, and ultimately the following summer, if you're taking summer school, fall, spring, we want to come up with a pretty good plan for your next 3-4 years, whatever it might be. Some tips and tricks. One thing we say is double dip. So you had seen that list of attributes, the reasoning and discourse, speaking intensive. It's great when you can find a class that fulfills multiple sections, because then you're taking one class, but you're fulfilling multiple needs. And so look in that column of attributes to see what that represents. We recommend a good semester is 5 classes. That ultimately is 15 credit hours in a semester. Typically, if there's a lab, that'll bump up to 16 credit hours. But for the most part, in order to graduate, you will need 120 hours. And so it's a really good number to stick with, 15 per semester. You can take 18, but again, it's that question of, is that right for you? Were you overly challenged with 5 classes? Do you really want to bump up another one? Or do you need to take a step back from that 5 classes to 4 classes? Again, it's that conversation you have with your advisor. What do you do after? I think the most important thing afterward is you're going to get an advising code. That is your key to registration. You will not be able to register for classes without that advising code. So make sure that you save that number. Make sure you have it accessible when it comes time to register for classes, because sadly, we're not going to be available at midnight at 1 a.m. for you to register for classes. So make sure that you save that. In terms of adding the classes and potentially dropping from a class, you want to make sure that you have that CRN number, the course registration number. And for the purposes of our conversation, it's also good to have the listing of that's a bio 112 or that's math 194, because as talented as we may be, we don't have all the course registration numbers memorized. And so we do need to understand, what class are we talking about? How can we look that up? So here, again, you can see just what the codes represent. These are all, for the most part of the general ed requirements. But just as you're looking through that description page, the attributes column, you can see sort of what box these classes may check. Some words of caution. Please look at taking a variety of classes within the gen ed requirements. It's wonderful if you're fully committed to your major, but it's also really important that you sort of broaden your horizons. One thing, if you take all classes in your major, if you're taking 5 math classes in a semester because you're a math major, we don't want you to get burnt out and all of a sudden decide, no, this is not for me. I can't do these math classes ever again. So again, it's for your benefit that we sort of spread things out. We recommend maybe 2 to 3 within your major and then 2 to 3 outside of your major. Just again, finding that balance that's right for you. You may take your friend's advice in terms of, someone may say, oh, you should take this class, it's really easy, or oh, you shouldn't take that class because it's really hard. But understand, you each have different learning styles. And so someone may be a really talented writer, and so they excel in a writing intensive class, whereas that may not be a strong suit for you. And so you may struggle in that class where someone said that they did really well. So again, take that with a grain of salt when someone says, hey, this is a really easy class, it's a really hard class, a really good class, really bad class. Just understand that it's wonderful to do your research, but understand where that information is coming from and sort of where your skill set lies. The same thing, again, the website, Rate My Professor, different sites like that. Understand that it's sort of the case of the squeaky wheel gets the grease, where if somebody had a really, really bad time in that class, chances are they're going to rate that class really poorly because there's this emotion, this passion behind it. Or somebody feels really good about the class, and so they're going to overextend themselves and say how great the class was. So maybe 20% is really great, 20% is really bad, but what about that section in between? You're missing out on that opinion of sort of the average person in that class. How did that go for them? So it's fine to look at information like that, but again, process what that means to you specifically. The grad plan, again, this is the document that we typically use in identifying, okay, these are the classes you've taken, these are the classes you're going to take. It's something that you can, again, have a takeaway of. You've got the course registration numbers. It's all set up so that you know this is pretty much the plan until graduation. It's not set in stone, but it's a good recommendation of the needs of degree works and the needs until graduation. A website we've been playing around with a little bit and recommend with students is Corsical, corsical.com. It has a specific UNCG section. It's mostly for students who really like to have a visual. So you can type in the classes you want based on, again, what's been published, and you can see my Monday, Wednesday, Friday class. There's a gap between my morning class and afternoon class. So under Corsical, I can type in, I'm looking for an English class, and I'd like to take English 110-02. I'm going to add that to my schedule, and then I also need to take a chemistry class. So I'm going to look at this one. I see the date, the time. Okay, I need to take that class. I'm going to add it to my schedule. And then I'm going to come over here and then I'm going to look at my schedule, and I can see these are the classes that I've selected to take for my fall semester. So again, it gives you a great visual aid to see where your time commitments are, how much time you have between classes. So I recommend it. Again, it's corsical.com. And again, the other piece with that is when I made the video, all that was accessible at the moment was fall 2020. Make sure you are looking up spring 2021 so you get the right courses, the right section. And then scheduling your appointment. How do you meet with your advisor? The best way, I think the most efficient way, effective way, is to use Starfish. So you log in and you can specifically choose when you want to meet with an advisor.
In order to schedule an appointment through Starfish, click Schedule Appointment. It'll ask you, what can we help with? Select from the options below. Let's say General Advising. Continue. You'll be given options, in this case 15-minute increments. A typical meeting will last about a half hour to 45 minutes, so plan accordingly. In this case, let's choose 2 p.m. to 2:15. Gives you an update of the date, the time, and how this meeting will operate. In this case, it's via a Zoom meeting. If you'd like, you can add text here. Confirm. Additionally, a confirmation email will be sent, and you're all scheduled to meet with your advisor virtually.
So a lot of that, again, is in your control. It's a way that you can have access to your advisor's schedule and find the time that is best for you. If for some reason your plans change and you need to cancel, you can log in and you can change your appointment. I certainly appreciate it when students update the schedule, so I'm not just waiting there and you don't show up. Again, it's that extra layer of communication that's really important. That's the bulk of it. We'll open it up for questions, but I did just want to say that these are all access points to the College of Arts and Sciences Advising. So there's our website. You can find most any of our information there. If you have a question, you're welcome to email either your specific advisor or casa@uncg.edu. We do have a Twitter page. You certainly can call us. But another key point for you is Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., we have sort of drop-in hours. So you can just log into that Zoom and there will be an advisor there who can talk with you and offer you some advice. It's helpful. It doesn't count as your advising session, so you won't necessarily get that advising code, but it's pretty good for any quick Q&A. And then we are located on the ground floor of the Faust building. And with that, I'll pass it over to Nancy if you want to handle any of the questions that have come up. I see that there were a few.
We've been busy with the chat. We've got some really active students in on the call, Ian. One thing that you could do is explain it in the couple of different ways that students can look up their advisor's name and their advisor's contact information.
Sure. Again, one key piece is in the CASA website, there's a listing of all of the advisors, and it'll list the direct email, the direct phone number, and then also within your DegreeWorks page, it'll list who your advisor is. Similarly, in Starfish, you can look up.
If you're old school and you like to find things on UNC Genie, and who isn't, right? You can also, in your registration menu, you can, so if you go to log in to the secure area with your student ID number and your PIN, then you can go to Student Services and Financial Aid, then to registration, and on the registration menu there's an item that says look up my advisor. And so if you wanted to make sure which of those CASA team members are your advisor, you can see it there. Probably a little bit quicker to look at it through DegreeWorks, but you can find that person through the Starfish app. You just look in Find My Support Network, and if you're my advisee, you'll see my name. You can click on it. It's real easy to find an appointment with me. We have another question, Ian, about whether students will have the same advisor all 4 years.
Sure. Specific to CASA, we work with first-year students up until about when they reach 29 credit hours, and at that point, you're a little more specialized and focused on your major, and so you'll receive an advisor assignment specific to your major, who can really walk you through the ins and outs of the specificities of your major. And so you won't necessarily have the same person for all 4 years. You'll transition to another advisor, likely in preparation for next year.
Okay, here's a good question. Brittany is asking if there's a way for her to look at the courses that meet particular requirements. So the course, I'll handle this a little bit. Courtney, there are a couple of, or sorry, Brittany, there are a couple of different ways you can look up what requirements you have looking at your DegreeWorks report, and then the course schedule that's going to be published tomorrow. You can either search by a particular course. So if you're a chemistry major and you know that you're going to need to be taking Chemistry 114 and 115 because you see those courses on your DegreeWorks, you can search for those specific courses. But if you're a chemistry major and you also need to take a social and behavioral science course, you can use the attribute search to search for every course that has that attribute. So you don't have to know that general psychology and introduction to sociology and American politics all meet that requirement. They'll show up in your search if you just tell the UNC Genie course search that you want to find all of the social and behavioral science courses.
I think the key piece there is under the search, if you go to advanced search, there are a lot of different filters that you can use to specify which class you want to research.
Yeah. So another good question, that sort of the difference between looking up classes and researching them and the registration process. So this question is, so when I pick the classes that I want to go, I'll go and add the classes in Genie and make my schedule there. And that's when Ian shared the registration window chart with you guys. So when you're meeting with us as advisors, we will be talking more theoretical because we're going to be meeting with you before you can actually register for your courses. But then on the day your registration window opens, really it's the first minute of the day. So let's call it morning or midnight. You log in with us, into your secure area, and you go to your registration menu, add drop classes. You'll have your advising code because you've already met with your advisor, and you'll have the CRNs or the course reference numbers for the classes that are your top picks and that you know are still open.
Yes, and forgive me again, when I was mentioning Corsical, that was just a visual aid. When you use Corsical, it doesn't actually register. So to Nancy's point, the only time you register for classes is when you're in that secure area of Genie.
Ian, can you talk the students through how they can get to their DegreeWorks report?
Sure. You would, again, log into your secure area of Genie. And I can't visualize where it is on the page, but again, a quick search of degree works will lead you to the appropriate tab. You log in, it'll ask you again for the same secure information. So the same information you used to log in, type that in again, and your degree works information will pop up.
Yeah, so that you log in, it's not going to be on your registration menu. It's going to be on your, so you'll go to student services and financial aid. That the first click is the same. The next click is going to be student records. And when you click onto the student records menu, you're going to see an option called Degree Works. It's going to be about 2/3 of the way down the pretty long list. And when you click on that, it might, depending on your computer, ask you to enter your credentials again, or it might take you directly to your report. Let's see.
And I would say that's another question you should ask your advisor, is to walk through Degree Works again, so that you can see what we see. And there's a great section in Degree Works where it's a what if. So you can see, okay, out of the classes I've taken, if I change my major, what do those count as? So again, have that conversation with your advisor and use Degree Works.
So we've got a question from a student who earned a lot of credit as a high school student in dual enrollment, and wondering if the advisor will reach out to you. And so even if you're a sophomore or a junior, if you're majoring in the College of Arts and Sciences, we've connected you with a CASA advisor for this very first semester, even if you're a sophomore or a junior, because we want to help smooth this transition and make sure that you know how to get things done. If you came in as a junior and you're going to have maybe 73 or 75 credit hours after this semester, next spring you will have a departmental advisor, right? So you'll be meeting with that faculty member or your department's advising center. But this first semester, we're keeping you guys in CASA just so that any kind of questions you have that you might be nervous asking a faculty member about, you don't have to be nervous, because we're here to answer any kind of question that you have. Okay, and another question is about the timing for meeting with advisors. Can we meet with advisors before our registration period? And absolutely. I would say most of us at CASA advisors have already built out our appointments. And as probably you'll want to wait until you've had a chance to look at the course schedule. That's going to be published tomorrow. But, and you'll want a chance to kind of nose around, and it's a little bit intimidating when you first open it up. So if you want to spend some time getting your feet wet with the schedule, looking at it, and maybe set up an appointment for sometime early next week, or if you're really intimidated and you want help just making sense out of how to look at the schedule, make an appointment right away, and we can talk you through that and get you ready to do the kind of course searching that you want to do to build the best schedule for yourself.
I found it really helpful to meet with students a couple of different times, again, just to place a name and a face with you and get to know you and your interests. So I certainly encourage you to meet with your advisor a couple of times.
Yeah, we've got, so no matter how many credit hours you've transferred in, because we have another student saying that enough transfer hours that he has senior status. Wow, that is fabulous. Still assigned to a CASA advisor the very first semester, but depending on how close you are to graduating within that, CASA advisors, if they feel like they need to connect you with departmental advisors to get really specific departmental advice, we can help facilitate that. So do reach out to your CASA advisor, and if we need to be connecting you, we can help do that. And we've got only a couple of minutes, so if you want to wrap up for us so that we respect our students' time, we know they've been working really hard, and we want to make sure that we don't keep them too long on this call.
Sure. Again, really do want to thank you for spending some time with us. And again, that takeaway for you is just to understand that you have control in the classes. Yes, we check some boxes to make sure that you can graduate, but how you get there, that's really up to you. So again, take a look at yourself and kind of assess where your interests are, and then take a look at the classes and see where those can intersect. Again, we want you to do your best at UNCG. Um, that's it, really. Otherwise, set up an appointment with your advisor and get to it.